Hello, Namaste, Sastriyakal, Adab, and welcome to the pilot episode Demystifying Businesses of the brand new series of eCell 2.0 broadcasting directly from NIT Bhopal. You are listening to your host for the show, Ayushi Tomar, steering towards a new voyage of ideas. And today we have a very special guest on board, the CEO of TBC Consulting Group, a strategic investor, a digital media entrepreneur, a chartered accountant by degree, and an author by choice, Mr. Pawas Jain. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you so much, Ayushi. It's a pleasure being here and addressing all the students. And I mean, as we were just talking before the session, the college audience and student audience is the best audience that you can ever find. So I'm looking forward to a great session with you and a great interaction with you today.
Great, sir. Thank you. Sir, before we begin with the session, our audience would definitely love to hear about your journey in a nutshell. So please.
Okay, so I started I was studying chartered accountancy right after my school, and I started my first startup when I was right out of school, so 19 years of age. So it was very early, and this is I'm talking about 11 years back now. So I mean, things were very different back then. It was a passion for doing something of my own. It was a passion of creating a business. Plus, it was a news platform, so it was the passion of creating content that led me to it. But obviously, I was 19 years old, and this was 11 years back. So I did not actually even believe me. I mean, I did not even know that there's a term called startup for what I'm doing. So I was like, ठीक है, मतलब खुद का कुछ करना है, धंधा करना है. It was like that. So it started like that, and eventually, I worked on it with a couple of friends for 2-3 years, and we were able to make a huge impact in the youth opinion and digital news space. Back then, when we started, I mean, there were hardly 2 or 3 players in the market because digital content was very new. So Youth Ki Awaaz had also just started. Your Story had also just started right after us. So we were one of the first players, and it gave us great traction. Like we were at one point we were connected with all IITs, IIMs, NITs, working with their e-cells, creating events, content, and a lot of stuff. So that went on great. We even expanded. We created another portal which was exclusively for technology news, and created an entire media company with 3 platforms, and scaled up to more than 1 million views in 4 years. I was 21 years of age when I raised my first round of funding, and we were able to raise 3 subsequent rounds of funds, which totaled up to more than 1 crore in INR, and we were able to scale the company really well. But as they say, I mean, the first startup is always for failing and learning. We made our own mistakes, we faced our own challenges. It was a very tough time at one point in time, and finally I decided to sort of move on from the company. I sold my stake, I took an exit. It was a successful exit, but obviously it was my own company that I had created, so it was not a very happy space. So faced a lot of challenges, faced struggles. I mean, I was a chartered accountant, but I did not want to go into finance practice or a job. And so I mean, a couple of months I just dabbled with a couple of things, and then I finally decided that content is the core of what I do. Like apart from finance, knowing finance, I mean, content is what has always driven me. So I decided to create a content consulting company. I call it, like, you guys must have heard about SaaS, which is software as a solution. But I decided to create a CAS company, which was content as a solution. So we started giving, providing content marketing and, content solutions to companies as a consultant, and, started because content was what I wanted to create, and had a couple of great people who joined me in the first month of the company, and, bet their careers on a young startup like us. And I was the only sole founder of that company, by the name of TBC. The brand cocktail is what we started as, which eventually became TBC, and then now it has, in the last year, we have completely rebranded to the TBC group. So for TBC, it has now been 5 years. We now, from content marketing consulting, we expanded to digital marketing, and now we are entirely into marketing and advertising. So from online to offline to videos to branded content to media content, we do end-to-end. We provide end-to-end marketing solutions. And from there, I started multiple media companies. I also started a product company by the name of Indian Chai Company, which is a premium tea selection brand. So all this is under the TBC group. And very recently, in January, early this year, we also bought a badminton team in the state badminton league. So we are venturing into sports as well, and by owning a badminton team. So what the idea was to create a young conglomerate. So even our company website says that, built on trust and relationships. And what, and all this, the entire point, to summarize it, the entire journey has been, unfortunately, it is going on the right track because of the learnings that I got from my first failure. So, there's no regret. Whatever we did, we created a great company. We scaled up to more than 1 million views, raised 4 rounds of funding. But then, there are always challenges and learnings in the journey. And I think whatever network I have, whatever learnings I have, were developed in my first startup. So, from there to here, it has been a journey of ups and downs. And as an entrepreneur, more downs than ups, but it has been worth it. Yeah.
Oh, great. So basically, it was a chain of ups and downs in your life, and like if, at every stage of your life, you had something new on your plate, right?
Absolutely. So, I strongly believe that, whatever life offers you, or, whatever happens, like, challenges, सबके life में ऐसा, I never say that, I had a lot of struggles. So in fact, on the contrary, I always had that confidence कि ठीक है, I have a degree of chartered accountancy. I can always, find something, at least a good job, based on my capabilities. But it's about, looking forward to something. So, what do I look forward to when I wake up every morning? And if it is, doing something that I love, doing my own work, and, working with a team of 50 people now, who give their day and night for you, it is a very amazing feeling. So apart from all the ups and downs that you face in entrepreneurship journey, I think you should always have something to look forward to. That's the crux of it.
So that was a great insight from your journey. So without any further ado, let's proceed with the session. Okay. So you have undertaken so many diverse projects while going through your CA preparation days. So like we really want to know that what strategies did you adopt to effectively manage your time? Because like students, we feel like we're always short of time.
Yeah.
So like please guide us through this.
I think, but as students, you are also comfortable in waking up all night, which is great. So I think I almost became an insomniac when I was, studying, because I used to. I'm not a late night study person, because I think a lot of students, most of the students these days, and even back in my time, my student journey, a lot of students were more comfortable in studying throughout the night. I am kind of a person who is comfortable in waking up early and studying. So at night, I used to give my extra hours to my startup and what I was trying to create or write or do something, that I really enjoy. So I think, time management, I think, to be very fair to your question, I think time management becomes a lot easier if you are doing something that you enjoy. So, apart from all the student life and, studies and exams and all of those semester exams and all of those things, if on the side, if you have a side hustle, if you have a side thing that you really enjoy and love, I'm sure you will find time for it, somewhere during the day. So I don't think that, time is really a challenge. It's just how we look at it. It's just our perception. So if you and to be very honest, like engineering ho ya BCom ya bachelor's ya any kind of graduation, you have the best, that is the best time to start something, because you have a network of students ready to test your product, help you, support you. You don't get that sort of support after your college life has ended. So in college, like your friends, and you have a WhatsApp group of so many WhatsApp groups where you can promote what you are doing, get immediate support on what you are doing. So it's a lot better to try and pivot things and pilot things when you are in college, because you have access to a lot more resources if you think of it from that perspective. Like people say that college mein there are no resources, you don't have money to do something, but at the same time there are resources that you will never get again in life. Like if you talk about technology, like you get the best website developers when you are on campus. your friends, your network, your computer science students, they always, they'll be ready to help you. In fact, creating something on tech for me is a lot more expensive than creating something for in tech for a college student, because they have resources around them. I have to, go out, search for resources, pay for it. But in college life, you get a lot of resources at hand, which you don't, realize the importance of. So I think time management is all about looking at things from the perspective that, if you love something, if you love what you're doing, if you have a side hustle, it makes everything easier. It makes everything more smoother and, more streamlined. So I would just, advise students to, sort of look at it from a perspective where whatever they are doing, even if it's a side hustle, even if it's a startup that they are, planning, even if it's a portal that they are planning, they should work on it. They should continue working on it, because when they do that, I mean, they'll realize that there are a lot of other things, other advantages attached to it, that, you will start getting yourself when you start it.
Great, sir. So you mean like that it won't really bother whether you are a morning riser or a night owl. What really matters is filling the gaps, right? How you effectively manage your time, right?
Exactly. So because, even if you are a night owl, or as you said, an early riser, what matters is that you should be able to, as I said, it's about perception. You will always be able to find time for what you love. So I think even today, like, it's not just about student life. Even today, like, people ask me, how am I able to manage so many things? And even then, I hang out a lot, I party a lot, I go on, I travel a lot. But, it's, as I always say, like, if you love what you are doing, you will always find time for it. So time will never be an issue if you enjoy what you're doing.
Great listening to that, sir. Okay, so sir, we all know that how challenging nowadays it is to secure a job, and yet you chose to leave your such a secure job as CA and be an entrepreneur. Like, really, we want to know what motivated you to take such a great step.
So I mean, that is exactly, in a very detailed story. That is what I've written in my debut novel, the first time, which got released December last year. And that's the story of a startup founder who, left his consulting job and started something of his own, and the challenges that he faces and sacrifices that he has to make. So, just to summarize it, and just to, give a perspective around it, I think, leaving a job, sounds very big and sounds very huge, a huge step and all of that. But it's more about, the passion that you have towards what you want to do. So, it all depends on the level of passion that you have. So if somebody now tells me that, you also left your job, I also want to do the same and, follow that path. I always tell them that, it is not an easy step to take. It takes a lot of perseverance and patience and, challenges and sacrifices. So after knowing all the pros and cons, if it is a calculated decision, then it's good to take. So for me personally, I mean, I'm being very honest that, it was a very, very calculated decision. Like, it was not like movies that, one fine day I decided to leave the job and just follow my passion with a backpack. It was a very calculated risk. I properly, actually, you won't believe it, but I did a proper SWOT analysis that, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are the opportunities that I have, and what are the threats in the industry that I want to go in. And it was a proper decision that I took. And obviously, I mean, I very much knew that, there are going to be a lot of sacrifices that I'll have to make. Money being one of the biggest ones in the beginning. So, when suddenly the salary that is coming on every first of every month stops, I mean, it's a big, big push to you mentally as well. So, I mean, having said all of that, what I'm trying to say is that it is an extremely challenging journey that you are undertaking. And, you should realize it when you are taking it. So it's not a decision that can be taken purely out of heat and, just saying, I really love what I'm trying to do, so, I'll pursue it. You really need to understand the industry, see what your options are, see if you can raise funding or become profitable or earn revenue, and how are you going to survive. Because entrepreneurship in general, and I say it, and I have written it in my book, that entrepreneurship in general is a very lonely journey. So, you never get that support from, most of the times, from your family. You never get that support from friends. Your friends will be in high paying jobs and you will be, struggling in a startup. and stuff like that. And obviously, as an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend as well. So it becomes very difficult because it's always a very lonely journey. So if you can manage, and if you have the perseverance to handle all of that, because a lot of people leave their jobs, or even for that matter leave their degrees and drop out of college, following the glamour that we are shown in the media. So, we see $1 million valuations, we see $1 billion exits and all of that, and Oyo and, Urban Clap and all of those stories. But what I'm trying to say is that you cannot base your decision based on, what you see in media, the glamour you see in media, because actually it is a very difficult journey. So if you are ready, if you have the perseverance to face all those difficulties and make all those sacrifices, then, leaving your job will be the simplest thing. So that is why I said that it may sound a huge step, but if you have thought of it, and if it is a calculated decision, then it will be the easiest part, and then the difficult part starts.
Very enlightening, sir. Like, rather than blindly following just a trend, you need to be calculative or practical, because it's a real life. That's not a movie, right?
Yeah.
And okay. So, but like every person at somewhere, some point of time feels like, yeah, I wish I could have achieved that, or I wish I could have done that. So, continuing that, if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice to a 20-year-old Pawas Jain, like what would it be?
So, okay. So if I have to give an advice to 20-year-old me, I would, in fact, like I'm talking about leaving a job and taking some calculated decisions. At 20-year-old, I mean, I might have made some better choices so one thing for sure. Okay. When I think of it from the perspective now that you have asked, I mean, one thing for sure would have been to, read and understand the startup ecosystem better before venturing into startups. So because, why I'm saying that and sharing that is because I made a lot of wrong decisions in, sometimes in raising funds at wrong valuations and, stuff like that. And I think I would not say that, it's a regret or something like, if I go back in time, I could have changed, because I was 20 years old. And at 20 years of age, you are allowed to make a lot of mistakes. So, I think it's not something that I regret, but yes, I could have done it better if I had read more, or, I had been more exposed to the industry. Like, what I always tell students now, and, ECEL members, especially in every college I go to, that you guys should realize the importance of the exposure that you are getting, interacting with startup investors, mentors, founders, and, doing sessions like these and all of that, because you have that exposure and learning. When I was 20-year-old, I did not have those learnings, because those time to e-cells bhi nahi hote the. So it was, I'm talking about 11 years back. It was a very different time. I did not have the exposure to all of those. As I said, I did not, when I started and I created my portal, I did not even know that there is something called a startup. So at that stage, I made a lot of mistakes. I made mistakes in, probably raising funds, and, then the way I managed my company, my startup, and the decisions we took at, 21 years of age, running a funded company. So that might have been my advice to a 20-year-old me. But yes, I mean, having said that, there are no regrets about it, because those learnings were also important at that time.
So definitely. So, like you mentioned about the building up of startup ecosystem, like there are many other fields also, like technology, be it marketing or businesses. Like India has advanced in each and every field, like right from past 10 years, right? So, if you were given a chance today to start from scratch right now, so
Yeah.
what would you do differently, considering the advancements India has made over the years?
Okay, so yeah, one thing is for sure that, if I had to start from scratch today, I mean, I would definitely want to access, well, there are a lot of, as you talk about India, like there are a lot of government schemes which are supporting young startups now. So I would definitely want to take advantage of those as a young startup. And to every young entrepreneur who is listening to this, I would advise them to do that. In fact, I have been working and consulting the ministry on these things, and, working very closely with the government. And very recently, I actually saw and realized that sitting in the ministry, that there are more than 80 schemes that the government has for, young entrepreneurs, startups and businesses, and people who are setting up manufacturing units and stuff like that. And I mean, they are literally saying that, it is our fault that we are not able to market these because there is nobody who is coming and applying for this scheme. We want to give money, but there is no one to claim this money. So there is a lot of work being done. There are a lot of things being done for even rural startups, tier 3, tier 4 startups by the government. And I would definitely want to leverage that if I was starting new. Another thing is that, when you are starting new, the biggest challenge that you face is obviously the network access. So you don't have enough network. You are a very young entrepreneur. So if I was starting new at this stage, I would first be very active in the very vibrant startup ecosystem currently. Like 10 years back, believe me, like Jaipur, where I was studying, and I have been born and brought up, there was no startup ecosystem. I mean, there was nothing called a startup ecosystem. So I was one of the first people who actually took that decision, and we had to do in our company, we were doing a very large scale 1,500 people startup event, and we were supposed to do it in Delhi and Bombay and Bangalore and places like that. And it was a large scale event. We had speakers from Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Motorola, and all these companies coming in. And we had the Viral Fever performing for us. So I mean, they are all great friends. So they were performing for us at the event, and it was a technology plus entertainment event that we had conceptualized. And at the last minute, I mean, we decided to change our location and do it in Jaipur, at the same scale with the same speakers, only because we wanted to create an ecosystem here. So it was the love for our city that prompted us to actually do something here. And in the last 7-8 years, I think I have done such events in Chandigarh, Pune, Odisha, and places like that. So even in Lucknow and Varanasi, for that matter. So I think what is more important at this stage, like if I was starting now, I would really, start from a tier 2 or tier 3 city as well. I would not be worried about it, or I will not be scared of it. But 10 years back, when I was starting from Jaipur, it was a whole different challenge because the resources, the exposure was very less. So I think that is another thing when you talk about the advancement, particularly in India, that has come. On that particular point, I would like to, make this a very important point that, the best part is that today tier 2, tier 3 cities also have started developing an ecosystem, which is, I think, very critical for the overall development of any country, and in fact, overall development of entrepreneurship and startups. So now, I'm very deeply connected in the entire ecosystem, and I see, startup ecosystem and startup events happening in Varanasi, in Indore, in Guwahati, and Mysore, Mangalore. I mean, I have attended sessions in places that I could never have imagined 10 years back. Coimbatore. I mean, I recently got a request from Coimbatore. So I mean, that is the best part, which excites me the most. That we are seeing an entire startup or entrepreneurial revolution in the heartland of India now, beyond Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore, which is extremely critical for me.
Great, sir. Like you mentioned about building up the network, like as an entrepreneur, you have to face very hurdles. Like the funding issues are also there, and at some point of time, society or peer pressure. Like great. So, sir, keeping that view on your opinion, if like when you were going to opt for your CA, being a CA, you were thinking of being a CA. So that time you were like more, almost like in class 11th or 12th. We have to choose for the higher study. So we are not that much have experience or knowledge. Like we are just randomly going through the fields, like whether we have to opt PCM, PCB, or go with commerce or any other field. So what was your motivation and thoughts behind opting CA, going for CA?
So I think, to be very honest, I mean, my father is a chartered accountant. I'd always seen that in the family. I wanted to be like him when I grow up, and and plus, finance really excited me. It really attracted me, and I mean, all through my CA studies in 11th and 12th, I mean, I never, even for a day, faced any problem studying, or never want, like, ran away from studies like most of the students do. So in that ways, I mean, I was very different, because I really wanted to do that as well. So it was not like that, you never think about being an entrepreneur or doing a startup when you are in 10th or 11th. I mean, now students have those kind of exposures, but I never thought about it. So finance was something that I really wanted to do. And when I actually started my own thing and I started my own business, I realized how important that study of finance and accounting and business in as a whole has helped me in the entire journey. Because now I understand finances, I understand the business models, I understand business of my clients as well. So it helps a lot when you have a degree to back you. And same goes for engineers or MBA or anybody. So I always tell people that studies and degrees are extremely important. And I would be very fair, I mean, in a country like India it is very important. Maybe US or and Silicon Valley, which a lot of students want to imitate and follow, there the situation and the economy is very different. So they can afford to be a dropout and still create Facebook or a Microsoft. But in India it's very difficult to sustain and survive without a degree. So first, obviously, sustaining a startup in itself very difficult, and second, if you don't have a degree to fall back on, your life becomes very, very difficult. So I think from that perspective, that was always clear in my mind that I have to get this degree, I have to study hard, and I really want to do what I was pursuing. So I think that was never really a challenge.
Amazing. Like from the very childhood, you were a kind of hardworking and focused person, right?
Yeah, I was focused very much. Hardworking, I would say I was more into smart working, because I was never the kind of, because obviously I was anyway running my own thing by the side, and chartered accountancy is a very, very exhausting study. But I was never the kind of student who would study for 16, 18, 20 hours a day. I used to like study for 8, 10 hours a day. I used to do my smart work, and then I used to start writing on my portal. So I was doing both the things even till the very end. Like before my exams, like only for 2 or 2.5 months, I was inactive on my portal. And the day my exams ended, I started, my portal again. So I mean, I was always a smart worker. I wanted to, because this was actually, I knew that this is what I want to do, even while I was studying. So I was very focused. Yes, I knew what I was doing, and I knew what I wanted to do. But yes, at the same time, I mean, I think it's more important to, as you said initially, I mean, you made a very important point that it's more important to manage your time and do smart work rather than just log and do hard work and continue working for 20 hours a day or something like that.
Amazing, sir. So, well, moving ahead, let's switch to a rapid fire round. I hope you are prepared for that. And that rules
I'm
will be
scared
surely
about
very
that, but
simple.
yes.
So you have to just answer as soon as possible. Like,
So
please
I'll
feel
try.
free. Okay.
Yeah.
So shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question for you, if you have to go for IPO of BBQ Nation or Paytm,
BBQ Nation.
great. Scuba diving or skydiving,
Skydiving.
writing or finance,
I think writing.
okay. Dhaba or restaurant,
Restaurant.
amazing. Favorite stock to invest in,
I would say Tata. Any Tata company.
okay. Favorite stock to trade with,
I think Infosys, Wipro. Yeah.
okay. So one achievement you are most proud of,
Actually, writing my novel, because that was a long lost dream and I finally fulfilled it. So yes.
great, great. And one book everyone must read for the audience, especially what would you recommend your audience?
I would, shamelessly plug myself and say that you should read The First Time, written
The
by
first
me.
time.
Yeah.
Great, sir, great. Well, that was a really very short, quick, rapid fire round answer. You were very fluent while giving your answers. So great. And so before we just wind up the session, because we had a very great conversation with you till now, like covering each and every topic, I hope. And so last question personally from my side, that since we all are college students, so exactly what you were 10 to 15 years back, right? So we would love to hear some precious words of advice, and not only from you as an entrepreneur, like if you were as a senior, as a mentor, a guide who could guide us through our way, since we have spent our first year, almost we have begun with our second year, and we are still in the virtual mode of college, so we
Right.
haven't got the opportunity to explore the like the college life and the opportunities which we get there. So
Yeah.
how should we manage, like how to make most of this?
So I think, one unfortunate thing you already mentioned, that, a lot of students in the last 1.5 years have been in an era, have been in a age where, you have actually experienced college only virtually. So that is the sad part, but, not considering that right now and not going into the sad part, I would say that, as a student, the most important thing I think is to start building your network. So as you said, and I mean, this does not come as an entrepreneur at all. I think even if you want to be in a leadership role, if you want to go ahead and, get good jobs, start building your network, start meeting people, start being active on LinkedIn, start being active on, in social events whenever they happen. But, what is important is, why I'm saying that is because, as a college student, when I was a college student, and even now when I interact with college students, I see there is one common thing, that, college students are generally hesitant in going up and talking to somebody because they don't have that sort of an exposure. But, that is exactly what they need to shed. That is what exactly they need to move away from. And they need to be shameless in going ahead and talking to people. So, start creating that network, start adding corporate people, start adding startup founders in your network, start interacting with people, meet people. Because whatever path you take in life, whatever path you choose in life, that is going to be constant, that is going to be your strength. Because at different, ages and different eras in my life, I have always had the advantage of that network, and that is something very coming very personally. So that is one thing. Another thing is that I think, education in itself goes a long way, and we have already talked about it, Ayushi. So I think, education in itself goes a long way. I completely agree that, you don't get all the information or knowledge from your college books or from your academic books. But in the side, you should keep learning, you should keep reading. you know I also thought after my CA that, finally my studies are over, and technically, yes, I don't have to give an exam in my life again. But, I'm still reading every day, I'm still learning every day. I mean, my entire industry, marketing, how it is evolving every day, I have to read and keep up to date with it every day. Students and, young kids like you will have more knowledge about Instagram than me, because you are more active on that platform. You will have more knowledge of TikTok and Snapchat than me. So, the entire industry is so fast evolving that I have to constantly read and update myself. So, as a student, I mean, learn as many things as you can, beyond your books as well, because for sure, I mean, at least in India, you don't get all the information in your college books. So read and expose yourself to as many things as you can. There is a huge, repository of knowledge on the internet if you use it right. And, all sorts of, you can learn coding, and, you can learn marketing and digital marketing, Google ads, anything in the world is possible sitting from your home. So never stop learning and expanding your knowledge and network, as I already said. And one last thing, and these are all, very practical things that I'm saying. I'm not giving any gyan or anything, because I don't want to say all that motivational stuff. These are practical things that people can actually, students can imbibe. And the last thing I would say is that, just, one very important thing which I personally believe in: just have fun. Never leave that aspect out of your life. Never be so serious that you stop having fun and hanging out with friends, because, it might sound very preachy, but, that goes along with that, helps you keep your mental state in place. There will be very difficult phases in life. I mean, abhi to kuch bhi nahi, abhi to matlab everything is rosy, I would say. But, when you actually go out, may it be a job, may it be a company, may it be an interview, may it be startup, entrepreneurship, whatever, it's going to be extremely challenging. So it's very important to keep your mind in its place, and, have fun. Never stop having fun. The more you work, the more you should party. And, never leave that aspect out of your life, because that what I'm trying to say is, that is the entire work life balance that you have to create. So, as I said, at my time, I could have studied 20 hours, but I chose not to, because I wanted to keep my work life balance. Today, I mean, after I got married, I made a major change in my life, because uske pehle main bhi aisa sochta tha ki why not, work till 11 in the night and, do more things and stuff like that. You have to make changes in your life from time to time. Now I have stopped working after 7, finally, after 10 years. And I think I need that space and mental space in my life where, I need to maintain my work life balance. So never stop having fun. And I think that is the most important thing that I could tell anybody.
Great, sir. So, like taking notes, a short sum up, like try to interact with the people and try to have fun, like whatever you do, and like at any point of time, just have that spark of learning things, new things. Like don't stop yourself. And
Most
when it
important.
comes to grabbing knowledge, just one word: be shameless. Don't hesitate to learn something new. Right.
100%.
Great, sir. So I hope the people listening to this session, especially you, sir, will definitely resonate well, and they would embrace your advices in their lives, because we students, we could really relate ourselves with you. So thank you, sir, for being with us and spending your time from your busy schedule, sir. Great
Thank you
having
so
you.
much, Ayushi. It was great, one, interacting with you. You are an extremely good host. And I think it was super fun talking to you, doing the rapid fire and all of that. But I also hope that, with whatever I say, it does not come from a book or anywhere. It's all practical experiences that I can share. I don't have any other knowledge, to be honest. So it's all practical experience. So I hope that, whoever listens to it, or whoever students, if they hear it, they'll be able to add some value to their everyday life, because whatever I said was very practical, very easily imbibable. So I hope that they can learn something from it and add some value to their lives.
Great, so great. So that marks the end of this engaging and inspiring session. Thanks for listening. You just heard Mr. Pawas Jain, the CEO of TBC Consulting Group. Cheers and take care. Here's signing off, Team ESL from Station in the Charcha. Thank you.